Good morning, boys and girls.
Good morning, Mr. Waller.
And good morning, parents and grandparents and friends.
Good morning.
Welcome to Riverside School's Moving On ceremony. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and sing our national anthem. Class President Katie Grimm will lead us in the pledge. Welcome again to our Moving On ceremony. Our event this morning is to celebrate our students who are transitioning from Riverside to attend new schools next year. But we would also like to recognize some other special achievements. First, I would like to recognize some special guests. I would like to recognize the members of our Board of Trustees who are in attendance this morning. Our Board of Trustees include past parents, current parents, alumni, and friends of the school who volunteered their time and their wisdom in setting the vision of our school and helping us to achieve that vision. When I call your name, please stand and be recognized. Mr. Bill Longan, President of the Board. Mr. Jerry King. And Mr. Neil Milheiser. Did I miss any other board members that? No, also, Riverside's third head of school, Gina Fahrenholt, made a special trip to be present at today's ceremony. Please join me in welcoming. And we are honored to have another special guest. Please welcome Becky Hollingsworth. I would like for all of our teachers and staff to please stand. And I'm going to say, wait, I'm going to say a little something too, because we're going to have to clap twice. The Riverside has a powerful mission and a wonderful curriculum, but it's our extremely dedicated and professional teachers and staff that make it all possible. So one more round of applause. All right. For the next part of the program, I introduce to you Mrs. Susie Eklund.
All right, I'm at that age where these have to come off the head. Okay, and this also. So here at Riverside School, our language fundamentals classes are the hallmark of our program and the Riverside experience. Our curriculum utilizes the Orton-Gillingham approach, which allows our students to unlock the logic and the patterns that are behind the structure of the English language. Students progress through 3 levels of curriculum and language fundamentals: the primary, the intermediate, and the advanced. Each student progresses at his or her own pace. A completion of our entire curriculum is something that only a very few students are actually able to achieve. And it demonstrates that they have a deep understanding of the structure of the English language, which will serve them well in their academic endeavors and pretty much anything they do for the rest of their lives. This year, we have 2 students who will receive the Mastery of Advanced Language Fundamentals Skills Award. That's a mouthful unto itself. As I call out each student to receive their certificate of award, I will also ask that their LF teachers stand and be recognized. First is Dominic McMullen. Dominic has been here at Riverside for 3 years, and his LF teachers have been Mrs. Morton, Mrs. Del Bueno, and Mrs. DeWitt. Come on, ladies. All right, and our second student today that we would like to recognize is James Spencer. How are you, James? James has been at Riverside for 4 years, and his LF teachers have been Mrs. Tanner, Mrs. Lundmark, Mrs. Eklund, and Mrs. Del Bueno. I would now like to welcome Katie Grimm to the podium to recognize today's alumni speaker. Sorry. Hold on, I brought my own copy. There's me. You start here. Okay.
We are excited to have Mr. Neil Milhiser, a Riverside alumnus and member of the Board of the Trustees, come back and speak with us today. Mr. Milhiser is a member of Riverside's class of 1995. He later graduated from Trinity Episcopal School, earned his BA in English at Elon University, and then a law degree from Washington and Lee. He is currently Vice President of Operations and General Counsel at Industrial Advisors Global. Mr. Milhiser is the first Riverside alumnus to serve on the Board of the Trustees, and he is finishing his 6-year term. Neil and his family are true servants of Riverside, and there is no better example for our new alumni than him. We are gathered in the Milhiser Gymnatorium after all. Please join me in giving Mr. Neil Milhiser a warm Riverside welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for that introduction. You know, hearing that 1995 makes me feel a little old. But, I remember how excited I was at my moving on ceremony and wondering, what it was going to be like moving to another school. And, I started thinking about that as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to all of you guys about. And, the foundation that I was given here that I was able to build on as I went to other schools. And, as I went on in my journey, I had my ups and downs like everybody, but I wouldn't have changed anything about it. And as I started thinking about what makes us unique as LDs, for some reason, I couldn't help but think about superheroes. So who here like superheroes? Well, I'm a big fan of that. And the reason why is because of superpowers. They are blessed with these special abilities that enable them to do big things to help the world. So what does that have to do with LDs? I believe we have a superpower. And it's that we're blessed with a certain way that we think. We see things differently. And I think that the way we see things helps us to see problems differently. And it enables us to think outside the box. But what does that have to do with superheroes? Well, you think that when these superheroes got their superpowers that it was just an easy transition and that they were able to just use them without any problems? I can tell you, they had a lot of frustrations themselves to endure. One of my favorites, Iron Man, when he first put on that suit, I gotta tell you, he took a lot of buildings out. He caused a lot of damage. Same with Superman and Wonder Woman and all of them. It was very frustrating for them, but they stuck with it. They had a lot of trial and error, and eventually they figured out how to hone their superpowers so that they were able to do that good. And it's the same as us with LDs. We've got to work hard to hone our special way of thinking. And as we do, it becomes a superpower for us so that we are able to see things differently and so that we are able to have that creative way of thinking. So I encourage you guys as you're here to really look at how you can hone that superpower. And as you move on to other schools, I encourage you to continue to hone that superpower. And there will be times where you may have trouble grasping the information, and that's okay, that's normal. But don't be afraid to ask your teachers for extra help. Don't be afraid to try different techniques to study. That's normal, even if it's different from what your classmates are doing. And as you do that, I promise, you're going to learn that you're able to hone the special way that we think, and you're going to see that you have that superpower yourself. The other thing I encourage you guys to do is to keep in touch with each other. As you go out to other schools, keep in touch on how, the different methods you guys use to try the study methods. And, be there for each other, support each other as, maybe you're having times where you're not quite adjusting to the information. But it will come. And I promise as you get older, you're going to see that you really are blessed with something. I know that for me, I consider it a blessing, and I'm proud to be LD. So thank you guys again. I congratulate you, and I wish you the best of luck.
For the next part of the program, I welcome student.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Mr. Kirby.
I just can't pass this up. Students, you remember every time we talked about hard work, I said that there was an alumni that told me years ago, the way he succeeded was he said he outworked everybody else. That's the man.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. For the next part of the program, I welcome Student Council Advisor, Mrs. Sarah Sculthorpe.
Here at Riverside, Student Council plays an important role in the lives of our students. In addition to meeting regularly to discuss aspects of student affairs, our Student Council raised funds for various charity organizations, including Children's Hospital and the Richmond Animal League. I would like to recognize first our classroom representatives, Max Economy, T. Lancaster, Piper Masella, Mariana Ornelas, Stephen Romano, and Joe Seibert. Thank you. And I would like to recognize our Student Council officers, historian Sophia Six, Treasurer Henry Hubbard, Secretary Parker Hamlin, Vice President Katie Lee Shank, and President Katie Grimm. I would now like to welcome to the podium Bill Longan, President of our Board of Trustees.
Well, good morning, everyone. On June 6, 2019, a day of very special remembrance for our country. A couple of things I want to just touch on about things that have happened in the last 12 months that I think are particularly notable, and then we have a terrific speaker for us this morning. The school is at record enrollment, and that's quite an accomplishment. And I expect that we're going to be in a similar position in September. And this is due, in large measure, to the expansion of the campus up into Tyser Hall. That was a big deal. That was a lot of work. We had never done anything like this before, and it's been an absolute success. So that's one thing that I would just like to recognize and have you know that that worked, and it worked beautifully for us. And that was the result of this community coming together in a remarkable way. We had a lot of volunteers, people with professional expertise, people who knew what they were doing, that were wonderfully generous with their time and their experience to help us get that right and help us make good, well-considered decisions. So the enrollment record that we're at today, and I anticipate we will be for the 2019-2020 school year, this is about providing something to folks in a way that helps them through the balance of their adult lives. Secondly, if you're not aware of this, I would like for you to be, and that's our Adult Speakers Program. We started this about 2 years ago. And what happens is about every, Leo, month, 6 weeks? We have an adult speaker come in who is dyslexic like me. And what we say to him is, here are 80 people just like you. And go to it. We don't tell them what to say. We don't tell them how to say it. We just put the adult in front of the children and just share what's on your mind, and it has been remarkable. The backgrounds that these folks have couldn't be more different, but the story is amazingly similar, not in a way that we've coached them. And one of the you've already heard this already, and you're going to hear it again. You have to work harder than other folks at times. So what? But that work ethic is going to serve you in some remarkable ways for the balance of your lifetime. Right, Neil? Oh, yes. Okay. Secondly is you solve problems differently. And one of the things that I realized is that's not something you can turn on and off. You just wake up like that every day. So you solve differently. So you have an exceptional work ethic, and you solve problems differently. What I have just done is defined somebody that a lot of employers in the Richmond area would be very interested in talking to. So these are job skills, and job skills that you can lever in some very unique and valuable ways. So the Adult Speakers Program, I really want to encourage you, whether you have somebody enrolled here in your family or not, if you're interested in doing this, you can talk to Mr. Waller. He can put you on the list and let you know when the speakers will be coming in the 2019-2020. And just treat yourself to 30 minutes one morning. It's really terrific. Our speaker today is Dr. Dorothy Susskind, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Education and Counseling at Longwood University. She previously held positions at St. Catherine's, St. Christopher, St. Andrews, and the University of Mary Washington and the University of Richmond. Dr. Susskind holds a PhD from the University of Virginia and a BA and Masters of Education from Virginia Commonwealth University. She has extensive speaking engagements with 30 different organizations, and she was one of our adult speakers. Okay, last fall, she was one of the speakers. She gave a great talk. So she and I are both dyslexic. She's a shining example of what, oh gosh, here it is again, hard work, perseverance, and a commitment to education can accomplish. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Dorothy Susskind.
Good morning. How are y'all doing? Fantastic. I'm going to set I have tons of learning tools as a dyslexic, and one of them is my timer. So I'm going to set my timer so I don't go on too long. Sound good? All righty then. So, greetings, moving honors. Is that a word? Yeah, today it is. Parents and families and faculty and administration, I am so excited to be here this morning. I love moving on ceremonies, commencements, graduations. They are full of possibilities and excitement about what's to come, which is perfect for me because I am innately curious, always asking what if, full of questions. And on one of these searches, this one involved Twitter, I came across a picture of some of you sitting outside engaged in a Socratic circle around the monomyth, the Odyssey, which is crazy because I'm working on a creativity study right now and it is framed around the hero's journey. Were any of you in this room doing that outside, the Odyssey? Yay, how cool is that? That is fantastic. So, well, the monomyth, as many of you know, is the hero's journey. And that is about this epic battle that we go on for self-discovery. And the reckoning of self, it unfolds. This hopefully is going to bring back some things. As the hero embarks on an adventure, finds mentors, meets great challenges, uncovers insights, and then returns home a more enlightened version of himself or herself. And this idea of the hero's journey is everywhere, right? It's in the book Harry Potter. It is in movies like The Wizard of Oz and The Matrix, which I really want to see the most recent one, and most masterfully in Star Wars. And Star Wars, interestingly enough, includes all 17 steps of the hero's journey, which is not a coincidence because George Lucas and Joseph Campbell were actually really good friends. You can Google that, guys. It's true. Well, what I would like to do today is talk a little bit about the hero's journey because for me, being a dyslexic, I think part of being dyslexic is going on a hero's journey. But this is like the really, really condensed version, okay? There's not going to be 17 steps. Don't worry. You don't need to panic. But stage one is like the everyday world, right? And for me, as a kid, that meant telling stories, drawing horses, running around in the glorious outdoors. It was freedom all over the place. And then I was off to school. And if I was to be honest, like I totally rocked kindergarten. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, it was my year. I thrived. That was step one. Stage two, do you remember this? This is when the adventurer refuses the call, okay? The hero's like, no way. And the problems for me first started when I was in first grade, and I walked into the classroom, and I was promptly escorted to my desk, and I was alarmed. I searched the room for construction paper or watercolors, like maybe a class pet, like anything would do, but nothing. I was panicked, anxiety-stricken. But then, all was not lost, because over in the corner was this beautiful library. And I love books. And so hope was restored. So I ran towards the books. I had tons of books at home. And I was told, Miss Spencer, my maiden name, you need to sit down because reading group is after lunch. And I thought, all right, I can roll with that. So when the time arrived, I watched groups of children be beckoned to the back table where they were handed these beautiful glossy books with bright pictures and lots of stories, and I was so excited. Then it was my turn. The red group, or it could have been the Red Robins, or it could have even been the Turtles were called, and I knew that that was not a label I wanted to claim. And then my delight in learning was officially snuffed out because of Pip and Tuck. Or it could have been Stan and Fran, or quite frankly, it might have been Goosey or Lucy. Frankly, I don't remember their last names, but what I do remember is I didn't like them. I didn't even kind of like them because they were the starring characters, all right, in this little green matte book, no glossy covers, with black and white drawings and simple sentences on each page. And I was like, surely, like, the cool books are coming over any minute. No luck. I'm still garnering the hope of a child, right? Because I'm in first grade, and I'm thinking center time's coming. And center time's going to be different, because center time's cool, right? And I'm thinking maybe I can build with blocks, or maybe I can paint. And in exchange for those kindergarten activities, I was given a colored by number math sheet, all right? And it had problems, math problems, that I could not understand. And it had an artistic rendering that was not at all up to my standards. So instead of following directions, which I'm actually not very good at doing ever, I got out my scissors, and I spent the next 20 minutes shaving the wax off the crayons. It was great. It built this beautiful volcano. And it spewed red and blue and orange lava. I was like super proud of myself. And with that, for my efforts, I received a check minus and rebuke. I didn't even get points for creativity. This is stage 3 of the hero's journey. This is when we say no thanks. I am done with this whole adventure thing, and that's exactly what I did. That year, I pledged to abandon my creativity, silence my voice, play very small. And for the next 6 years, that's exactly what I did. I just sunk into a smaller, quiet version of myself. But then there's stage 4. And you're going to know this one, because that is when you meet your mentor. So something really cool happened, quite amazing actually. I walked in to Mrs. Paulette's middle school art room, and she was different in all of the glorious ways we need desperately our teachers to be. In Miss Paulette's classroom, she challenged us to tell our story with our own topic, our own timeline, our own medium. We would color outside the lines, paint, draw, build, sometimes all at the same time. And she delighted when I pushed boundaries. And she was so excited when I did something nobody else would do. She told me I was spectacular, and no one had ever told me that. And over time, I started to actually believe her. But then, stage 5, you encounter more obstacles. And for me, that came as a college freshman. So as a college freshman majoring in art, our first assignment was to draw a still life. And I still remember every detail of that arrangement. I remember the cow skull, the flowers, the vase, and as soon as it was set up, I got to work. And not just during class time, I went on the weekends and in the evenings, and I was so proud of what I'd done. I knew that Miss Paulette would have loved it, absolutely loved it. But when my new art professor came in and saw what I did, she offered 6 words. You have done this all wrong. Exactly. It gets worse. Then she picked up my paintbrush and she started fixing my painting. And I did not think my painting needed to be fixed, especially from a woman that had just met me a week prior. And this is stage 6, when you enter the dark cave of challenges. So I had a choice, and you have a choice. I had a choice at that moment. I could either silence myself and shrink back into somebody much smaller, like I had done back in first grade, or I could decide to walk into the cave and be exactly who I was and value my messy, nonconformist way of thinking and seek out people and places that valued it, just like here, right here at Riverside. So I hunkered down in college, graduated in 3 years. That is a great college savings plan, parents, I gotta tell you. And like Neil had said, I did that because everyone else was out partying and I had learned to work hard, so I just worked all the time. Graduated in 3 years, and I decided I would be a teacher, just like Miss Paulette. And in my 2nd grade classroom, those kids read and wrote and sang all the way across the continent, science, social studies, mathematics. And they were doing great, but I knew that there was so much more I needed to learn. So I decided to leave the classroom and head back to the University of Virginia on full fellowship to do my doctoral studies. And that was kind of cool, because the first week in class, I met this other amazing woman named Jane Hansen, and she was awesome. I took every class Jane taught, and I was on her writing and reading curriculum research project for 10 years, way past when I graduated. And when I was with Jane, she taught me that reading and writing are absolutely important academic skills, but they are so important because really they are tools of expression and they are tools of empowerment. They say, I am here, I matter, I have a story to tell that nobody else in this room could tell. And I also learned that whether students are 5 or 25, that when you allow them to work creatively, their understandings deepen and their perspectives broaden. So I went to study reading and writing, and I really studied power and creativity. And the final stage, and Neil, I think we could have written this together. It's true. This is when the hero claims her superpower, okay? And for me, this is gonna sound familiar, I think it is my creativity, which is largely because I'm dyslexic. And I'm not alone in that. When they have done a recent study, looked at 1,000 job offerings, and the #1 skill that folks are looking for in the work world is creativity. Who knew? So, what do we know about creativity? Do you know we actually know tons? We know a lot. For the last 9 months, I've interviewed over 50 people all over the world, and I've reviewed hundreds and hundreds of studies, and this is what I found. First, creatives are gloriously messy, okay? Super messy with their minds and their processes, and that mess stays with them for a lifetime. Like Picasso, who was thought to be dyslexic, and all throughout his life, he continued to paint to the age of 91, and his processes were continually nonlinear, disjointed, messy, full of surprises, breaking rules, and breaking conventions. #2, creatives are really independent thinkers and intellectual risk takers, okay? Like recent Nobel Prize winner Carol Greider, who is dyslexic, you guessed it, and she fell in love with science, not because of the answers, but because of all the questions she got to spend her day investigating, never knowing if any of her hard work was going to come to fruition. Spoiler alert, she actually came up with a lot of significant protocols for curing cancer. That could be you guys. And third, environments. Environments that promote creativity are really compassionate. They have a large degree of autonomy. We embrace the idea that learning is uncomfortable and it's okay to sit in that discomfort, and we encourage kids and adults to ask lots of questions and to work across specialties, like at Pixar Animation Studio, where engineers and writers work together side by side, intermingling ideas so that they can make up super cool movies like Toy Story and The Incredibles. Do you love The Incredibles? I love The Incredibles, all of them. So in closing, I have 2 reminders, okay, and 1 invitation. First reminder, remember that you will be successful, not in spite of your dyslexia, but because of it. That your dyslexia is a type of superpower. And #2, this one's important, folks. Your big thinking and creative way of doing things is probably going to get you in a little bit of trouble. Does that sound familiar? Maybe. Perhaps it always has, because when you start asking why, could we do it this way? Or, oh my gosh, have you thought about this? People get nervous. Very, very nervous. Because doing it the same way all the time can prevent a degree of failure. It can also assure mediocrity, but what it will never do is generate excellence. And we know that from research. And you, my friends, are excellent. So what you need to do to keep your full heart and bold spirit, and I love how Neil mentioned this, you need to keep in touch with your mentors that are in this room, your teachers and your parents and your administrators, and then also have a group of really, really close friends. And I too am here to help you. And I mean that. Ask any kid I've ever taught. If you go to Longwood University, type in Suskin, super unusual last name, I'm the only one, like literally there's like 3 of us in the country, it will pop up. And you can email me, and I will call you, I will write you. And I mean that authentically. I'm here for you as well. And third, the invitation. Are you ready? It's not an invitation to a party, but it's still pretty cool. Today, after the celebratory lunches with your grandparents and friends, what I want you to do is write yourself a letter, okay? A letter to you, and no one else has to read it. And I want you to think about who you are today. Write down all the things that you have done here at Riverside. Reflect on what you want to do next year and who you want to be. And I partake in this letter writing ritual all the time. I have literally written myself hundreds of letters. I have got 40 plus journals in my home office. And those letters are things like, Dorothy, don't cut your bangs. You don't have the forehead for it. I really want bangs, and I cut them all the time until I figure out I can't. But they're also more profound, like stand in your values even when it's really, 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 really hard. And this writing process, you're going to find putting things down on paper is powerful and it's important. And finally, I'm going to leave you with some of my favorite words from our friend Joseph Campbell, and that is, the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Godspeed, graduates.
Oh, there's one up here. Just missed it. Sorry. Now for the final part of this morning's program, the presentation of the Moving On certificates. These certificates indicate that the student has successfully completed their course of study at Riverside School. Will all of the students please stand and, as I call your name, come to receive your certificate from Mr. Waller and Mr. Longan. Okay. Quinn Agnew, James River Elementary School. Luke Brown, the New Community School. Harrison Carmack, Lynn Haven Academy. Paxton Cho, the Stewart School. Cornelia Erda, St. Catherine's School. Cole Farrell, the New Community School. Tyler Gelrud, the New Community School. James Gordon, Pemberton Elementary School. Victoria Hartson, Midlothian High School. Henry Howard, the New Community School. Henry Hubbard, the New Community School. Garrison King, the New Community School. Dominic McMullen, Tomahawk Creek Middle School. Abram Mercer, the New Community School. Sage Powell, the New Community School. Katie Lee Shank, Amelia High School. George Six, undecided. Sophia Six, the New Community School. Max Soledar, the Stewart School. James Spencer, undecided. Michael Trounsell, the New Community School. Congratulations to our alumni class of 2019.
All right, I need you all to stand, please. I'll stand for this part. All right, by the authority vested in me by the Riverside School Board of Trustees, I welcome you into the fellowship of the Riverside School alumni with all of the privileges and responsibilities thereof. I further charge you to become living examples of the mission of Riverside School by always striving to reach your highest potential. Remember, your Riverside family, wherever in the world you go, and always in everything you do your best. All right, parents and families, please wait to meet your graduate until after our 3 youngest classes exit the gymnatorium. Miss Myers' class, you are, or Miss Myers and Miss Mayer, you are excused. Mrs. Waldmeyer's class. And also Mrs. Shoup's class also, Mrs. Shoup's class. Thank you very much for coming. Feel free to meet your graduate, and we'll move all out into the courtyard.